its southern neighborhoods. We are at NATO Public Forum that follows the NATO summit in Washington, celebrating the 75th anniversary of the Atlantic Alliance. And I have with me the ambassador of Morocco in the US and also the Deputy Secretary Assistant for Political Affairs and the partnerships. And I will start by the ambassador. Thank you for joining us. How do you follow this reflection process in NATO regarding its relations with the South when we had celebration of the 30th anniversary of the Mediterranean Dialogue, 20th anniversary of the Istanbul Cooperation, full process of food for thought, debating on all this historical but in a very different international context. The group of experts that I have the honor to share provide also civil society, academic, practitioners' contribution. How do you follow this process?
Well, let me, Anna, tell you that it is a major breakthrough as far as a Mediterranean partner, as a partner who has always been involved faithfully with NATO. We believe that the cooperation from a southern perspective with NATO is essential in the Mediterranean. We have started a long time ago through training, through capacity building, through military maneuvers in the Mediterranean as the active endeavor. And also today, due to the security threats in the region, NATO must look south. And I think we are very happy to see that, and we commend the designation of a special envoy to the south. Let me speak about the Mediterranean, because we believe that some coherence should be respected as far as other instruments in the region, as far as the European EU neighborhood policy and what Morocco, for example, is doing today and other partners in Africa. Because today we need to build up a corridor between North and South. NATO, of course, has its transatlantic link, has its priority, but we need to work together. And we have been telling to our friends in NATO, and especially to like Javier Colomina, that special attention should be given to the South Sahel, not only through military. It's important. The military intervention is important. The security cooperation is important. The intelligence is important, but we need to work on other dimensions. And what today is the priority for stability, to fight terrorism in the Sahel, and is to have a new approach that corresponds to your priorities, but also to job creation, promotion of growth. And that's why His Majesty King Mohammed has launched a new initiative for the Atlantic, building corridors through connection of networks, energy. This is the way how we fight the threats. I will give you a small example, like the crisis in Sahel. It's a major threat for you, for us as Mediterraneans. We can try to address this issue through security measures, but also through linking these countries to the Atlantic, to the sea. Because access to the sea is access to trade, is access to prosperity, is access. And today, thanks to this political dialogue, and this I think also another breakthrough in the cooperation between NATO and the Mediterranean countries, I will say not Mediterranean, the Med-dialogue countries, to respect the language of NATO. It's an important element to talk together. So that's why we are very happy to see. Of course, we need to do more. Our ambition is to do more political dialogue, more interoperability. And Morocco is a country who is committed today to we know the strategic concept of NATO. We have an important experience, and we have been working for the last years. You know, I was responsible for the relation between Morocco and NATO in the foreign ministry. So we need to do more, to work more together, and thanks God we have people, our message has been heard as far as this political dialogue.
Mr. Deputy Assistant Secretary General, you work with and about the region for many years, the Mediterranean as the whole region, and of course with the South. You also follow very closely this process, the deep and comprehensive reflection process. You followed also the report that the expert group made and all the negotiations that in the institution, because we have the allies, we have the international staff, the military component. Looking to the declaration that we now know from the heads of state and government of NATO, looking to the action plan that's going to be developed and also revised regularly, as the declarations say, how do you perceive the most important deliveries from these documents in the short term, and what is the main message for the long term as someone inside NATO that look to this political dialogue?
Thanks very much, Anna. Yes, I have followed the process since the beginning, and it's been quite a year for NATO and the South since we decided in Vilnius to launch a deep reflection process on the South, and the work of the group of experts that you chaired, and finally the action plan that was negotiated with the allies, and then I had the honor to chair those negotiations. And I do think that the action plan is a very relevant document and says a lot of how much the South matters for NATO. We've decided to increase the political dialogue with our southern partners, to increase the opportunities to engage with them, high-level meetings, and a proper agenda for tackling shared security challenges, and try to create more space for conversations with our partners, not just in the Mediterranean and through the Mediterranean dialogue, but also in the Gulf through the ICI, but also other actors in the region. Second, we've tried to increase the practical cooperation with them, basically what we do best, which is defense capacity building, security and defense efforts, advice, training, interoperability, and we have decided to give ourselves more resources to do that, but also to use in a better way the tools that we already have. We have decided also to enhance our presence and visibility in the region. We decided, for instance, to open the first ever office in the region that will take place in Amman. It was announced this morning. And we will look into other opportunities also in North Africa. We will also increase through this action plan the efforts that we have in terms of visibility and Stratcom, public communication, which is fundamental for the work we do. And finally, we will increase our synergies with the organizations that work in the region, because we are looking for complementarity with the European Union, with the African Union, and with other efforts that also bilaterally are taking place in the region. And to do all of it in a coherent way, we've decided, yes, to designate a special rep for the South. It will probably be announced shortly, as soon as next week, probably. And that individual will be able to cover all this action plan in a way that wasn't done in the past. So I was part of the effort, and I am quite excited about it. I think we achieved quite a lot, and I have to say that you were a part of it. So thanks very much for your efforts.
Thank you. Mr. Ambassador, you said previously that counterterrorism, the question of terrorist movements, radical movements in Sahel, but also the very political and delicate situation in Libya. How do you perceive NATO added value on the region comparing with other organizations regarding terrorism, but also the external intervention? We have the rebranding of Wagner with the Africa Corps, but also we have a very significant threat and risk on maritime security, both on the Atlantic coast and on the Indic coast and the Mediterranean, as we well know. How do you perceive NATO as a cooperation partner on this, and what is the added value that could have on these main threats and risks?
Thank you. Very good question. I would like to go in the same sense like Javier. Public diplomacy is essential. We have to do together to explain to our public opinions that NATO has changed. And effective NATO has changed. It's not, people think NATO is a military organization. Yes, it is. But today, NATO is a tool that can be used to bring stability through explaining the vision and to this political dialogue at the highest level. I remember we had the first NAC meeting with the Mediterranean countries in Morocco. So it was not easy to have that, but we had that. And so we need the tools. We need to express the ambition, and we need three elements, I think, in this cooperation with NATO. I think it should be more flexible, and we presented a document to you when you were discussing. The first one is more flexibility, so to include all the partners in the process. More co-ownership. We need to have the countries, partners involved in this process, implementing the decisions, and also co-decision that work together. So to fight terrorism, we need to do this work. We have also the other tools. It's how to deconstruct the jihadist narrative. This is very important because you cannot solve the issues only through military intervention. And you see, we have failed in Sahel and Libya. We need to fight the extremists, the radicals, through deconstructions, the jihadist narrative with the people who have the experience. Two, I think one other important issue I have raised is we need the connection between piracy, drug trafficking, illegal migration, and this through the Sahel and going to Europe. There's something that we can work in political cooperation, exchange of information intelligence, and maritime, you said it clearly, security. That's why today, I don't want to talk about landlocked countries in the Sahel. I said, I better like to talk to, we need to link these countries to the land-linked countries. And that's why this initiative of the Atlantic of King Mohammed VI is to create a corridor of prosperity through interconnection of networks, energy, gas pipeline, important port in Dakhla. This is the way how you offer this, and this is, I think, this the soft power, can I say that, or something, economic cooperation is essential. Because at the end of the day, and I'm talking from an African and Southern perspective, what matters the most is how much jobs do you create, how much growth do you promote to create stability, and of course, within an espace apaisé, a peaceful space. These are the tools we need to do together. And we are doing our own homework, but also we need to work with our partners. And yesterday, I was very pleased because I know you are from Spain. The Prime Minister of Spain made a very good intervention, and we are happy to see that. He spoke about the Mediterranean, because all day we were speaking about space, about Ukraine. I know it's a priority, but we in the South sometimes we feel a little bit frustrated because we also have our ambition, our expectation, and we need our partners to be on board. Thank you. This is, I think, I wanted to leave you with this message to show you that countries like Morocco are committed to work with you in this ambition. Of course, we need three elements. We need the vision, and I think we have this vision, all of us. We need the tools, and now we have new tools. And we need the commitment, and we need everybody to be on board. And everybody must be involved in this process. NATO is changing. NATO is looking south now, and we want, and you are more ambitious. And thank you, both of you, because we know that you have played.
If I may add a couple of things on what the ambassador just said. First, we're talking about challenges and threats in the region. That's a fundamental piece of it, and we are a political and military organization, it's clear. But we have to talk also about the opportunities of engaging with the South. And we feel that there's plenty of opportunities, plenty of things that could benefit both sides of the conversation. And second, it is very important to work on public diplomacy and public communication. As I've often say, NATO is an organization that basically brings stability and is an organization that has been capable for 75 years, and we're celebrating here in Washington the 75th anniversary of the organization, to keep the Euro-Atlantic area safe and prosperous. So at the end of the day, the message is that we actually in NATO, we basically foster the same principles that the UN would foster, which is stability and prosperity. And that's what we want to do also with our southern neighborhoods.
Exactly.
I would like to raise a question or a provocation, if you want, to both of you. I will start with Javier. One of the main sentences and ideas of the expert group report is listen more, understand better, and create the skills and resources in the organization, in NATO, but also in the instruments to do it. Listen, understand, engage both ways, because what we felt is that the South do not know NATO as well as we imagine, and NATO also needs to understand and know more the internal dynamics in the South. In the case of NATO, Javier, do you think this plan prepares NATO to do this?
I think it does. I think it does. At the end of the day, the establishment of the special representative for the South has that in mind, to be able to understand better, to be able to listen more, to be able to work on a two-way street with our southern partners, out of respect, out of a proper understanding of what are the threats, the challenges, but also the opportunities that they do bring to the Euro-Atlantic area and we do bring to the South. At the end of the day, what we need to do is to connect better, but also to help each other better. And I believe the action plan is exactly about that, yes.
Mr. Ambassador, the last word of this conversation is for you.
We need to, I will say different words. We need to re-engineer the region to create a space of stability and prosperity. And to do this, I agree, we need to sit down together, to plan together, and to work together for this, because it is in our interest to have. So this space of prosperity, of cooperation, linked to the other instruments, because NATO is an instrument, the African Union is an instrument, UN, and also not forget the European Union that has tools also within this new neighborhood policy, that we wanted to be more ambitious to respond to our expectations as countries of the North. But we have some friends like you in the Mediterranean that can, help us to move forward. We are doing our own homework. We have the capacity, the tools to be able to be a good partner for NATO.
Thank you very much for this conversation on NATO and its southern neighborhoods in the framework of the NATO Public Forum 2024.